Alright, welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining us for the channel that currently has no name. I mean, it would be a creative name, as I wouldn't think anyone else would have thought of that, but we'll eventually pick a name, which I have not thought of right now, as I want to get this in, as it is currently 8 o'clock at night, and the games start tomorrow for this week. Well, except for the Thursday night game, which will not be in here. Well, except I'll throw out my prediction, 27-17 Dallas. I mean, I'm not wrong. Did I do it in the most legit way? No. But still, 1-for-1 projections right this week? I'll take it. Anyway, we'll be doing sports analyses, along with recapping and previewing games. This week, we're previewing Week 13 of the NFL season, minus, well, Dallas and New Orleans, who played Thursday night, and Dallas won by 10, with Taysom Hill getting 10 more fantasy points than Dak Prescott. Does that make sense to me? No. Anyway, there are some good fun matchups this week, and there are some that are not very interesting. Looking at you, Eagles-Jets. Anyway, let's go on to the first game. Alright, the first game this week I'm going to be looking at will be the Indianapolis Colts versus the Houston Texans. The Colts, they've played pretty well lately, for as well as everyone thought they would with Carson Wentz at quarterback. Knock on wood, he has not been injured for the season yet, which has been very good, and Jonathan Taylor has turned into beast mode this year. With Houston lacking a good quarterback, I mean, Tyrod Taylor's not horrible, but the weeks with Davis Mills were not very fun for Houston Texans fans at all. Anyone thinking Houston's going to win this week, I apologize. I just don't see it happening. I say the Colts win this one 28-10. Jonathan Taylor over 150 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. And with Houston still struggling to get anything going, Tyrod Taylor might go leap over Darius Leonard for a touchdown. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens, but I would be shocked if Houston won this one. Their season's basically over, and the fans are looking forward to 2 things: the draft and whatever the heck they can get for Deshaun Watson. Alright, next game. Vikings versus Lions. They've played each other once, and the Vikings are one of the 3 teams who got lucky and beat the Lions on a game-winning kick. I mean, I say lucky, they're 0-10-1, so I don't know how lucky it is, as the question should be, why did they let it get there? Straightforward, the Vikings will win this one. Kirk Cousins will find his receivers, getting them over 200 passing yards combined to both, who the heck are their best? Oh yeah, Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. I mean, as Kirk Cousins, he only finds Adam Thielen last week. Basically, whatever happens will be that if I play Justin Jefferson in fantasy football, they're going to throw the ball to Adam Thielen. And when I do play Justin Jefferson, the rare time they'll throw to him, but if Adam Thielen gets the points, just know he's on my bench. Lions lose 28-3 this week. Kirk Cousins, 4 passing touchdowns. They're going to divide it equally to Jefferson and Thielen. Nothing much here. Jared Goff might get negative fantasy points. And if he doesn't, then he won't get more than 10. Alright, here's one of the first dumpster fires of the weekend. Giants and Dolphins. Mike Glennon versus Tua. The quarterback matchup everyone loves to see on their Sunday afternoons while dreading work and school the next day. Giants, well, Daniel Jones is out. Sterling Shepard may or may not play, as it seems like he likes to hide a lot. And even if he does play, there's not much there. Saquon has been well underperforming this year, even with the injuries. I get that. He has not been who he's meant to be for the last couple of years, and I'm sure fantasy owners are concerned as he might actually drop out of the first round in most 8 to 10 player leagues in fantasy football next year, because he just gets hurt too often. Well, when he is on the field, he can do a job, but this Dolphins defense hasn't been horrible lately. I believe they've won the last 4, coming up huge against the Ravens, holding Lamar to not that many yards, well enough that they win. I don't have the stats offhand, and look at that. One of their linemen can play fullback and get an 87 overall Madden card for having a touchdown called back. Maybe he'll score again, but I think that the Red Hot Dolphins will once again win here today. 21-7 I will go with. Tua will find Myles Gaskin for a receiving touchdown. He'll have a rushing one, and we'll just pick some other random receiver type. Mike Gesicki, he'll get the third touchdown in the game for the Dolphins. And it's an abysmal day for Mike Glennon and Saquon Barkley, who Saquon will not touch 100 yards once again. It's just going to be a sad day for Saquon Barkley yet again. All right, Buccaneers Falcons is the next game on the agenda, according to Google. So, I mean, I don't know how much commentary we really need for this explanation besides the Bucs winning. Matt Ryan has little to no help, as yes, with the addition of Kyle Pitts is well welcomed, and he's played really well this year. Kyle Pitts, if it wasn't for Mac Jones and Jamar Chase, could be a contender for Offensive Rookie of the Year. However, it just hasn't been enough for this team. They signed Mike Davis, who had a really good year with the Panthers last year in McCaffrey's absence, but bringing him to the Falcons, and a 30-year-old Cordell Patterson decides to have a career revival. Nothing you can do about that. Matt Ryan's best option if Julio Jones were traded away, and Calvin Ridley had to take some time off for football, so hopefully he is doing well. Nothing you can do about that one, but it's still a horrible blow for the Falcons team that now has to rely on Russell Gage as their receiver one. Still, he's not a bad receiver, but he works better in other roles of being a setup guy. With all that leading up meaning, I think it'll be a 35-17 game. Cordell Patterson will still find the end zone twice, one in the air, one on the ground, because Cordell Patterson is apparently good now. I mean, there's still calls for him to go in the Hall of Fame for his kick returning, but I don't know how good of a player he truly is. I think he'll do well there, but that'll be the only bright spot. Matt Ryan looking more and more likely to be replaced next year, and I'm just saying, if we see Josh Rosen on the field and he does not get negative fantasy points, I will be surprised, because that'll be a first for him this season. It's kind of sad when the backup quarterbacks both throw a pick as well in a Thursday night game a couple weeks ago. That's all you need to know about this Falcons team. All right, here's the most intriguing matchup this week. This will be the one game that should have been primetime all year that everyone's going to love to see. That's right, it's the Eagles and the Jets. Unfortunately, we're not in the 1970s where that statement would have been valid. However, it's going to be not Mac Jones. The Jets wish they would have drafted Mac Jones, but it's Zach Wilson who finds a way to make an open touchdown a pick, and Gardner Minshew, who, Trevor Lawrence replaced him. Arguably has better hair. I'm not going to comment on that debate. But still, Gardner Minshew filling in for the injured Jalen Hurts. Where originally when doing this, I would have projected the Eagles to win by more with Jalen Hurts carrying the offense, but I don't know how much Gardner Minshew can carry this offense. I still think the Eagles will be better, but it'll be a shootout of defense of who does better on defense, and I think the Eagles will do better. I think it'll be a tight 17-14 victory. Jake Elliott clinching the game with a field goal as time expires. Gardner Minshew finding the end zone a couple times still, and, Zach Wilson still finding a way to throw the ball around Darius Slay and have him return it for some good yards, because that's Zach Wilson. He likes to throw you picks. All right, Cardinals-Bears this week. And this one for the Cardinals could hinder really much on the availability of Kyler Murray, who I believe is a game-time decision according to Cliff Kingsbury. Which, will this really impact the game? No. People still say you'll see the memes of the Bears having the handicap of Matt Nagy, and I can't argue that. They've not been good under him the last couple of years after the draft pick Mitch Trubisky failed. Fields has been decent for them, but nothing they've expected for him. Mac Jones would have been a better pick at this point, but still, for the Cardinals, even if they don't have Kyler Murray, give Colt McCoy some credit. I mean, he's stepped up and has done a really good job this year when needed, keeping them in ball games. And he's made sure they've stayed near the top of the NFC in a three-horse race now in the NFC West. Sorry, Seattle. We're basically out after losing to the football team last week in heartbreaking fashion. Still should have ran the ball, but more on that later. Still, I think even if Colt McCoy plays, I'd say it's a comfortable 10-point victory. 24-14. A couple touchdown passes either way. The only difference would be Kyler Murray would have a rushing touchdown in his return if he is to play, and James Conner would have a rushing touchdown, however, if Colt McCoy is the starting quarterback. And I think even if DeAndre Hopkins doesn't play, that's the result Ryan's still the same. Because looking at their depth chart for receiver, even if you don't have your main guy in Hopkins, you still have Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore, Zach Ertz at tight end, and Conner can be a good receiving back. They're not a horrible offense, even without their best two players. But still, 24-14, Cardinals win this one. I'd be surprised if Matt Nagy pulls it out the bag. All right, next up here is Chargers-Bengals. Bengals, I believe, lost this one in heartbreaking fashion with a missed field goal that, if Randy Bullock would have made, I would have won in fantasy that week as I only lost by 2. That one hurt me, as I wanted to start off the season so well, but unfortunately, Randy Bullock couldn't do it. Unfortunately, he did get hurt too, so I lost my kicker for a couple of weeks, but he's still doing something. I think he's still at the Titans, unless they've gotten rid of him like they do half their kickers. I don't know offhand, so we'll go with the fact that Randy Bullock is still there. I could be completely wrong, but that's in the past. But we'll get to see arguably the two best quarterbacks from the 2020 draft class in Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow go at it today. The Bengals have been a surprisingly good team this year as Jamar Chase has fixed the drops. Joe Mixon has stayed healthy and done really well, and they're finding ways to get all their receivers involved. Even their tight end Uzama, they're finding all the ways to get these guys involved. And even the Chargers this year, with Herbert still playing well, Eckler being a good receiving back, and Mike Williams having a decent season. I mean, I was pretty disappointed seeing him play well in the beginning after I cut him in fantasy football for Brandon Cooks, but doesn't matter now. I still have Keenan Allen. He's playing well. So I think it's going to be a close one. Once again, a similar score line the last time they played. I'm going to go 35-30, however, in favor of the Chargers. I think Herbert's just going to be too much for this Bengals defense. I would expect him to hit almost 300 yards passing, 3 to 4 air touchdowns, and Eckler getting that one sole rushing touchdown. And I'm also getting a receiving touchdown. But also, the Bengals are going to fight hard in this one. They're going to be stopped near the 50 and 4th down. I think that's how the game's just going to end. But Burrow will still be able to lead this one with his head held high, as they will play one heck of a football game. And this might be actually the closest one, not by a scoreline, but the closest, in fact, if you're watching the whole game this whole weekend. This one would be one I'd mark down in your calendars for today at this point, or tomorrow, depending on when this is posted, to watch that one for sure. Monitor it closely, because it will be a good matchup. Mark my words. And if not, then I guess I'll hear about it in the comments, unfortunately. Alright, come on, Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. Please get me a good game. Alright, time for the 4 o'clock game, starting off with a very appetizing one in the Rams and Jaguars. I don't think it takes a genius to realize who's going to win this game. I'm just going to say it, 42-7, Rams win, with the only Jags score being in garbage time on a rushing touchdown by James Robinson. But looking at this Rams team, even though you have a couple game time decisions in Darnell Henderson, Odell Beckham, I think regardless of that, you could probably have pretty much any quarterback in NFL history in under center this week, and they'd probably still beat the Jags. But don't get me wrong, Matt Stafford has done really well this year with the crew he's had. Cooper Kupp with his emergence, unfortunately Robert Woods going down, but Odell's been able to step in last week, doing pretty well, getting his first touchdown with the Rams, and I think first touchdown of the season after his release from the Browns. Van Jefferson's been the good option. The running backs, Darnell Henderson, he has stepped up big time after the injury to Cam Akers, hoping he'll come back next year, but he has done a great job. Sonny Michel, that pickup. Sean McVay's team has done really well this year. It's pretty impressive. Unfortunately, the Jags, they have not done well this year, as expected. Trevor Lawrence is still going through his growing pains this year, with Mac Jones probably overtaken for best in the class so far. James Robinson been hurt in and out of the game. Their other first-round pick and ETN's out for the season. Chark out for the season. They've just been hit hard with injuries. And Marvin Jones, who's supposed to be their spark on offense in the receiver corps, hasn't done doing that well. And even Dan Arnold hasn't done much since his trade there, but still, the Jags are rebuilding, and I think Urban Meyer will be able to hopefully get them some success in the near future. Hey, it's just not going to be a pretty day for Jags fans. 42-7. Just think of their last touchdown similar to the one they had against Seattle a couple weeks back. And if they go for an onside kick, just for laughs, I think the Rams might have a good onside kick recovery / return towards the end of the game. If that happens, I'm going to look like a genius. If not, it's going to be the weirdest projection of all time without the context of that Seattle game a couple weeks back. Washington versus Las Vegas is the next matchup, and I mean, I think this is going to be a close game still. I know Washington's been up and down year. Taylor Heineke's done better than projected. Antonio Gibson's been not himself at some points this year, but last week played really well, him and McKissick, but unfortunately McKissick's out for the year. Logan Thomas coming back last week is huge. He didn't make that big of an impact, but he almost had a touchdown to seal the game, which is another one of fantasy football. If that was called a touchdown, I would have won my matchup in that week as well. This video seems to be a recap of all the ways I lost in fantasy football over the past year and a half. Unfortunately, that's just how it works. Simple plays. Still, speaking of teams losing, I should say, Washington I don't think will win this week. The Raiders have just been good this year, and I think despite all the injuries with Waller and just all that's happened this year, I think the Raiders are still a good football team. Hunter Renfrow has stepped up big time as a receiver one of this team. Brian Edwards, I believe that's his name. Edwards, we'll go with that. He's done well as filling into Waller. When he's been healthy, he's done well. Josh Jacobs has been doing decent. And Derek Carr is getting back to where he was in 2016, slowly but surely, which I believe he currently leads the league in passing yards. But that's good on him because he's helped this Raiders team stay competitive. I'm going to go with a 28-21 victory for the Raiders, as I think Josh Jacobs will get one on the ground. I believe he's I think he's questionable, but if he plays, he will get that rushing touchdown. Derek Carr, 3 passing touchdowns, 2 to Hunter Renfrow. And as you know, 2 passing touchdowns, both to Renfrow. And why not? He'll scramble for a couple-yard touchdown, and we'll get some more nice memes as the football team Heineke will play decent, but it just won't be enough as the touchdown to make it 28-21 will come in garbage time and just ultimately be not that helpful for the outcome of the game. All right, here's our first 12 versus 11 man game this week as the Steelers plus their coach will go take on the Ravens. Those who've watched Thanksgiving Ravens versus Steelers games in the past, you'll know what I mean with the trip up of Jacoby Jones back in the day. Hopefully Mike Tomlin doesn't pull something like that during this game, but he might have to make this game not a massacre, as I think the Ravens are just going to run away with this one. They were held somewhat by the Browns last week, but Lamar Jackson is hungry. He had 4 picks, and you know what? I'll say he had 4 touchdowns in total, 3 on the ground, 1 passing to Hollywood Brown. Ravens are going to go off this week 42-10. I'm not 42-10. 42-0. I'm going to say a shutout of the Steelers offense. I think Big Ben will show why he needs to retire, as the reports are saying he will. Najee Harris will be limited on defense, and why not? Titus Bowser will get a couple sacks in that game along with Patrick Queen, and that Ravens defense is going to look scary, just like the days of Ray Lewis and Ed Reed in that. But 42-0, and Lamar Jackson is going to reassert his dominance over one of their biggest rival teams. All right, now it's my goal not to be biased here, as my Seattle Seahawks will take on the San Francisco 49ers in one of the 425 games. Not trying to be the homer here, but I think Seattle's going to win this game. They won this matchup the first time around. Yes, they had Chris Carson, but the Niners had Deebo Samuel, and he did most of their scoring in that game. Yes, Ayuk has done stuff in prior weeks to recapture what he was supposed to be this season, along with Elijah Mitchell having a very good rookie year at running back, filling in for the injured Raheem Mostert, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Seattle's going to be able to pull this one out of the bag, because I think Russell Wilson realized he hasn't been playing well lately, and I think he's ready to become the monster he was known to be in prior years. MVP Russ might come back tomorrow. I think he's mad. I think DK is going to play mad. I even think D. Eskridge will get in on the action, the rookie receiver. I'll call it. The receiver core will combine for 3 touchdowns. When I mean the receiver core, I mean their top 2 of Lockett and Metcalf. I think Metcalf will get 2, Lockett will get 1. DK will play angry and get near 200 receiving yards. I think he's ready to go off again and show why he was drafted and why he's been given such a role, and proving to Madden why he's a superstar X Factor. It was a little confusing after the game he played against Washington with 1 catch of him getting superstar X Factor. I don't understand why that happened, but either way, I think DK is ready to go off. 35-20 will be your final. Jimmy G will struggle. Ayuk will get a touchdown to salvage something in garbage time. And Pete Carroll will be happy as Fire Carroll won't be trending this week, which will be a nice sigh of relief for the long-time tenured head coach. All right, we got some primetime football. 2 more matchups to cover, starting with the Broncos and the Chiefs. The Chiefs have won this matchup many times in a row, and I don't think that's going to change here. I think that Patrick Mahomes is once again going to go off and play some of the best football he's played all year. I'm going to say he can get over 400 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns this week, along with a rushing touchdown. Javonte Williams is going to play a decent game. I think he can get 100 yards and a rushing touchdown. I don't know how well he's going to play, but I think it's been the main bright spot on this Broncos offense, as I don't think they're going to have that good of a game. I think the Chiefs will just assert their dominance 28-9 with Brandon McManus scoring 3 field goals to get them some points. No, wait a minute. Not 28-9. Unfortunately, Javonte Williams cannot kick field goals, so it will be, you know what? Sorry, Brandon McManus. There go your 3 field goals. 28-7. Javonte Williams will get his touchdown still, and Brandon McManus will have to settle for his 1 kick. Sorry, fantasy managers, for giving you a -8 on his projection. This is not going to be a pretty game for the Broncos. All right, the last one's here. Monday night, Patriots-Bills. Winner of this will probably win the division, in my opinion. Patriots have been red hot as of late, winning, I'm going to guess, their last 6, if I'm doing my math correctly. I could be off, but I think they've won their last 6. And the Bills, coming off a good win last week on Thanksgiving, with both teams having momentum, this one will also be a close one, as some of them have. I think the median here has been a lot of them being blowouts, a lot of them being close. There's been there's been a couple 10-point ones, but no medium gap ones, I'll say. But This one, I think, will go down as the game of the week when it's all said and done. I mean, fantasy football doesn't project Mac Jones to get a lot of points this week, but regardless of what that says, I think this might be a shootout game, the likes of the Rams and Chiefs. I'm going to go 45-42 in a bold one, saying the Bills win. Josh Allen, 5 passing touchdowns, a couple of them going to Diggs, a couple to Sanders. I think Mac Jones will have a couple touchdowns, but the thing that will kill them is third down, they need to have a couple yards gain. Mac Jones will throw it over the middle, and it'll be picked off by one of the people in the secondary for the Bills, and that'll just end the game. In heartbreaking fashion for Bill Belichick's revitalized team under Mac Jones, but I think regardless of the outcome of this game, I think this will be the game Mac Jones solidifies for sure and kills any debate of the sole fact that he will not win Rookie of the Year on offense, as Mac Jones has played one of the best rookie seasons we've seen at quarterback, and if he leads his team to the playoffs, that will surely cement his status, as it looked early on that Jamar Chase was going to get it, but Mac Jones has shocked a lot of people, and he's going to be fun to watch for years to come. Alright, that's the end of the projections for this week. Let me know in the comment section below, do you agree with my picks? Do you think they're completely wrong? Do you think they're decent? Or do you think that I'm utterly botched this and I'm going to go for 0 for 13, or I have no clue what I'm talking about? Let me know, because unfortunately I guarantee you some of these will be wrong, and I'm sorry if I've jinxed your favorite team or one of your players into not doing well. And Justin Jefferson fantasy owners, I apologize. I am starting him this week against Detroit, so if Adam Thielen gets all the points in fantasy, I really apologize, as it's my jinx. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the content here, hoping to be able to post more, but we'll see what the future of this channel is. So long, have a good day.